Hello, and welcome to Recovery Life. I'm Cottrell Lewis, and I'm joined here today with my colleague, Stephen Hills.
Hello.
Yes, hi, Steve. So today we're going to be talking about the topic of advocacy. So we define advocacy as seeking to ensure that all people in society are able to have their voice heard, that on issues that are important to them, to protect and promote rights and have their views and wishes generally considered when decisions are being made about them. So it's really being a voice for the voiceless. And in peer support, why is that important and why do we do it?
Yeah, it's incredibly important, and also it's one of our scopes of practice is to support people in self-advocating and then also in advocating for others. And it's important in a lot of different ways. And the one we all think of first, I think, is the political or cause-oriented advocacy, and that is so incredibly important because many times people, because of their mental health or substance use issues, have been stigmatized, have had their rights curtailed or flat out taken away, and really do face a lot of hatred, stigma, dislike from other people, are prevented from getting jobs. I think especially of advocacy that peers are doing, advocating for a change in barrier crime laws.
Exactly, and that's very important. When we're advocating with our peers, we're finding out sometimes that if you've been in jail or you've done time in prison, when you come out, you have all this stuff that you have to get back on track with. And then when you're going for employment, there's doors being slammed in your face because you have a record. And sometimes those barrier crimes are preventing the very people who are the most qualified for the position from getting that position. And that's
Right.
hurting society as a whole because we need people in the community that have been in all the various communities because they can help people that are trying to go, that people that may have been there, or to keep people from going in there.
Right, where many times it feels like we're saying you've paid your debt to society, but not really.
Yeah.
And we've also seen through multiple studies that when people can't find meaningful work, when they can't find connections, when they come out of jail or prison, that recidivism is so much higher because then you're like, well, I have bills to pay. I have people to take care of. What am I going to do? And it opens the door for people to return to crime because it's the only option. And then I think of that especially not just for the general population, but for people working to become peer specialists.
Yes, yes, it's very hard, those barrier crimes. And we've been advocating for those as peer support specialists. And I think it's crucial that we are helping people to get their rights restored and that to helping them get back on track. Like you said, you come home and you find you're trying to better yourself and get your life back on track. You have these doors being shut in your face, and oftentimes that's what happens. People return to what's familiar. I know how to do this. I know how to sell dope. I know how to commit crimes. This is
Right.
all I can do to feed my family. So I have to do what I have to do. And that's not helping our communities, and that's just not good all the way around.
Right, where people, maybe that lived experience could be something crucial in that job. And right now I'm thinking specifically of our field where if you want to go be a peer in the jails, having jail experience is really fundamental because if you haven't, how are people going to listen to you? They're going to be like, you haven't been where I've been, you haven't walked in my shoes.
Yes.
And so, that can be, or with mental health issues. Well, many times with both substance use and mental health, there are some barrier crimes with that
Yes.
because we haven't always made the best decisions or been in the capacity to make the best decisions. And so that reform is definitely needed. I also think about it on a personal level. That is, as peers, we advocate just by sometimes supporting people at clinical appointments, just to be kind of that go-between and translator between them and the clinical world. Some people, and I know I was there at that point, I know I've met with different people and said, well, you can talk to your psychiatrist about that, right? And they either say, well, I didn't know that, because they're thinking the psychiatrist is the professional. I cannot question the professional.
Yeah.
Or they're absolutely terrified to do it.
Yes, yes. It really is important on a personal note that people know that they have a voice and
Yeah.
that their voice matters. When decisions are being made about them, what medication they can take, where they can go, where they can live, it can be depressing because you're not
Yeah.
able to be yourself when you're constantly being told something.
Right.
And then, what about what I want? And as
Right.
peers, we're able to advocate for those and to help them for their voice to be heard. Like you said, at doctor's appointments, even in drug court, we can help. If people are scared to talk to the judge, when I go to drug court, hey,
Yeah.
I will talk. I will be that voice for you and stand up there with you
Right.
and help you convey what it is that what's going through, what you're going through. And also, like with housing rights.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people have a record, they can't even get housing. Their credit is messed up. So we can find resources and to help them overcome some of those barriers
Right.
to be able to get to a better place.
Or they have no idea what their rights are.
Yes.
And, going back to what we talked about last episode about mutuality, many times we can advocate for people because we've been there.
Yes.
We've had to deal with people not listening to us, sometimes even mental health professionals not listening to us. We've had to deal with housing issues. Sometimes we've had to deal with justice-based issues and can advocate for people there who haven't yet found their voice.
Yes.
And through doing that, help them to find their voice. Really, it can even come down to advocating for people to be, and I'm thinking of this just based on people I've supported, helping advocate for them to be addressed by their proper name.
Right.
And their proper pronouns, the ones that they have chosen. And sometimes they're in family situations or social situations or job situations where they're not being addressed that way.
Yeah, and they don't feel respected, and that how they feel matters. Where when we have our peer relationship, we understand, we get it, and we know that it is important to you, and we can validate those feelings and still inspire you to continue to fight for what you believe in, that you have a voice. And what you think matters. I think
Right.
of women in the justice system.
Yeah.
When they are released, they have so many different things that they have to do. They don't even know where to begin. And as peer supporters, we can let them know, okay, you have the right to fair housing no matter what, and we have these resources, and let's look at some things that we can do to get you back on track. And they have that sense of hopelessness. They don't believe that
Yeah.
it's going to matter. No one's going to listen to me. We listen, we care, we get it.
Right.
So that's important, yes. So how do peer supporters, how do we help people advocate for themselves for self-empowerment?
Well, I know one thing I do with a lot of people I'm supporting is boundary setting. I used to be really horrible about setting boundaries. I had a really hard time saying no. I felt immensely guilty, like I was letting everybody down when I said no. And so I wasn't really able to do that, coupled with I had trouble communicating what my needs were because my depression, my anxiety just shut me up within myself so much that I was hoping someone would understand, but I couldn't communicate what was going on. And so I know we help people self-advocate by helping them be able to say no.
Exactly.
I know I've even, in our appointments, people and I have role played before, role played scenarios they go through where they get to practice saying no. And even more than learning the nuts and bolts, learning that they have the right to say no. But then they also have the responsibility to communicate their needs.
Exactly, exactly. And also we're able to advocate for them with their POs, to get them to move forward sometimes.
Yeah,
I know sometimes it may seem like to the clinical world that people are not trying, and they can be stigmatized saying that, oh, you're just not trying hard enough. But as a peer, we get it. We
yeah,
understand what that struggle is. We're able to validate those feelings. We're able to empathize with where they are, even when they continue to mess up and they're thinking, I'm never going to be able to get this right. And we can
right.
advocate for them and let them know, hey, you will get it right. I can help you. And just helping them to move forward to get to a better place, and let them know that they have a voice and what they think matters, and they should be heard.
Yeah, a lot of our self-advocacy that we do with people is precisely so that they won't become dependent on us or dependent on the system. But, we're showing how we did it. Sometimes we are advocating for them especially when they're learning how to have their voice. But that goal also goes with self-advocacy, that they do find their voice.
Yes.
And that, maybe where we started out advocating for them with a system or with their doctor or whatever, that they start doing that. That they really they feel empowered.
Yes.
That I didn't know I could do this before, but now I know that I can.
Yes. Yes. And also, as peers, we get to advocate for harm reduction. We've
Yes.
done a lot of work in that. We're out in the community, and we're not trying to stop people from doing what they're doing, but
Right.
we're seeking to reduce the harm that they're doing. Like with our harm reduction supplies that we take out with them,
Yeah.
and even the 988.
Right. Yeah, where it's, there's that advocacy on a personal level, which both 988, the crisis line, and harm reduction effect on a personal level, but then also really on a systems change level. It wasn't that long ago, and it's still going on, where substance use is looked at through a very stigmatizing lens and a very punishment oriented lens that doesn't really end up helping anybody. And instead, really shifting the focus through our advocacy to something that is more person centered and is more hopeful. I think about that with 988 too, saying, hey, we need a separate line for crisis so it's not lumped in with homicides and all the other things people might call 911 for. I also think of advocacy work with just decriminalizing suicide or suicide attempts. Just being blown away by knowing that still in some places an attempted suicide is a criminal act.
Yes.
And most states don't punish it, but it could be, and there's that stigma that's attached.
It is. It is. So also with advocating for our peers, not only do we advocate on a personal level and we advocate on a systematic level, I think that the entire act itself of just being heard, just having someone who understands those
Yes.
little intricate things, even when it comes to like our harm reduction in our justice system, punishment doesn't work. Punishment
Yeah.
doesn't work, and peers have advocated. We've been champions for change, and it's getting better. It's getting better, and people are starting to look at disease now, recovery, and addiction as a disease that
Yeah.
affects your brain. So you're not making the decision to destroy property and the police has to be called. You're not making this conscious decision to keep using no matter how it's destroying your life and separating your family and how you can't get a job,
Right.
and we can advocate that that you can.
Yep.
Through understanding, we can give you the knowledge about the disease of addiction, and that's powerful.
Right. Yeah. Everything we do with advocacy and self advocacy, it's not just about symptoms change. It's not, or systems change. It's not just about medication management. It really is about recovery
It is. It is.
and helping people to find a better life and one filled with hope and personal responsibility and wellness tools and supports
Yes.
and really helping them to have a voice for who they are.
Yes. It's an exciting time to be a peer support specialist.
It really is, and it's exciting as we look at the year of the peer as we go into 2024 as yet another year of the peer where peers are soaring in 2024.
Exactly. It's wonderful. Yeah, we're going to continue to seek to engage our peers and offer new learning and new healing perspectives, how to empower them so they can be the best version of themselves that they can be, and just support people on healing through whatever journey that they're on at their own pace.
Yes. And at this time, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this episode of Recovery Life. Thank you as well to Chesapeake Television. And this has been such a wonderful partnership with them as they're putting us on air. I want to thank my colleague, Cottrell Lewis, for just getting to have another wonderful conversation today. And we ask you to join us for the next episode of Recovery Life.